Hi everyone, Debbie here. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, please consider hitting the subscribe button so you can come on back and see what I'm up to after I do this project. But for today, I am going to use this napkin, which is from a set of napkins. Now, I never pay more than $4 for a set of napkins, and I have all of these, but I'm going to use one to do this project, just one napkin. I'm also going to use this set of LED lights, and I'm going to use this ginger jar. Now, the ginger jar was $5. I got it last fall, I believe, at Dollarama, and it's a really good size. This is 10 inches from top to bottom, so it'll make a nice light. I'm turning this into a lamp that would just come on in the evening, and I could have a night light that would shut off automatically. And these LED lights from Dollarama are going to fit the bill. These lights have a timed battery pack. They were $2 and they've got a 6-hour timer on them. So $2, like, think of the possibilities for $2. These are the pure white ones. They also had colored ones so that you could decorate a miniature Christmas tree, but all I got were the clear white ones. That's what I wanted for now. If I see these again this year for Christmas, I will definitely be picking up more of these because these are phenomenal. I'm also going to use dishwasher safe Mod Podge because this works really well when I'm doing a glass-based project. So I have this. What else am I going to use? I have my hot glue gun setting up and getting warm, and I'm going to use a water brush. These are the really simple little cheap water brushes. I got a set of these at Dollarama a few years ago, and I don't even know if they carry them anymore, but this is just a cheap set. You can also find water brushes online. All you do is fill this part up with water, and when you use it, you have then a wet brush. Perfect for these types of projects. So any other little bits, I will let you know when I do it, but I think that's pretty much all I'm going to use for this project. So to start with, I'm going to open this up, and I am going to cut this using my water brush. I'm going to remove this and this. So this napkin has this blue space. I want to put my napkin at the bottom of my jar going up and leave a clear space at the top. So I am definitely going to use my water brush, and I'm going to trim this out. So that's really simple to do. All I'm going to do is take my water brush, and I'm going to use my water brush, and I'm going to go around. I still got all my layers on here, so put enough water that you're going to go through all your layers. The reason that I'm doing this is because I don't want all this blue at the top of my jar. So I've got a line of water on here. Now I'm just going to gently pull this apart. And just pulling away the part that I don't want, and it makes it a little bit easier, and you have less of a chance to make a mistake. So if you get to a little part like that that's not pulling away easily, just add a little bit more water. Really warm in here, so going too far ahead just allowed that little bit to dry, and I want it to be wet when I'm doing this. Less chance of losing my less chance of losing the napkin that I want to keep on this. So, and this is just going to make this look a little bit nicer on the jar instead of having a straight edge. You could cut this with your scissors. If you don't have a water brush, I mean, this just makes it easier. If you don't have a water brush, just use a small paintbrush and dip it in a little bowl of water and do a little bit and then tear. So you can do the same thing. And to do this type of a project, you don't need this napkin either. Just do whatever pretty napkin you like. If you have a nice floral one, but the pattern doesn't go all the way across the bottom, just piece your elements on there. So I have this piece. I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And I have my 2 pieces of napkin. So it's important that you separate the front of this napkin from the back part. This is going to come apart super easy because that's a torn edge now. And this is only a 2-ply napkin, so I've only got 1 piece to take off of, but always check. Make sure you only have 1 piece of your printed napkin. Sometimes it's a 3-ply and you're going to have to take 2 of these off. So before I start using my decoupage medium, I am going to use some rubbing alcohol and I'm going to clean the bottom 3/4 of this jar really well. I've already washed it with soap and water, but I'm going to take this rubbing alcohol and I'm going to make sure that this is super clean. So something else that I usually do when I'm decoupaging is paint my glass jar white first. And I've often said that if you don't want to lose the printed part of your napkin in your background, that's what you should do. But I'm not going to do that this time. I want the top part of this to be clear. Want to keep the bottom of it a little bit translucent. I think I'm going to go with a smaller fan brush just because of how soft it is. The larger brush, I'm going to end up with Mod Podge on my glass where I don't want it. And yes, I'm not putting my Mod Podge down on my glass first. And I'm going to put the seam of my napkin right there because that's the center of my napkin. So I'm just going to hold that there, turn this sideways so that I can work with my other hand, holding this on here where I want it. I need to get this on here and started. So I'm already going to have Mod Podge on my jar, but I don't want it up around here. I just don't. So I'm going to brush this all the way to the bottom. So you're probably wondering why I don't have Mod Podge under my napkin, and it's because I don't need to put it under my napkin. This napkin is so porous that it's just going to go right through the napkin and it's going to go under there. So I want my bottom of my napkin at the bottom of my jar. I don't need to roll it over. So I'm going to go right around here. And I'm going to try to make this line as straight up and down as I possibly can. Let's see. Let us see. There. So pulling the top part as tight as I can without tearing anything, like very gently. I'm going to do this. I'm going to hold my jar like this. And you see all this extra? My jar curves in at the bottom. So at this point, I'm going to take my water brush and I'm going to draw a line about halfway here and down so that I can separate this. Now, if you're wondering how I know how to do this, I just learned by trial and error how to do this, but this works, guys. So if I just separate these like that, just a little bit. Okay, so like you could cut your napkin into little strips first if you want to. I want the patterns, the flowers to be whole on the largest portion of it. Okay, now I'm going to lift this again. I'm just going to go across the bottom, across the end of this, and I'm just going to tear it. I've got that other half, remember? And it's going to lay over this. So it's just manipulate. I guess what I'm trying to say is just manipulate your napkin until you can get it on this round surface. I mean, you're not going to get something that is one-dimensional like a napkin, which is just a flat picture, on something that's curved and not have wrinkles or cuts. It's not going to work. So now I'm going to take this piece, which I've wetted down, and I'm going to, that's not quite off of there. Oop, I got a little tear there. That's okay. That's going to go back together because that's even part of the napkin that's overlapping. And I'm going to brush this over top of that piece. I'm just taking my time. There's going to be wrinkles. I'm okay with that. Very slowly. And this is why I like working with this tiny little fan brush. This little fan brush is only about a 1/2 inch wide, but it works. I just want to make sure that I've got Mod Podge going over the edge all the way to the top. So I have this other piece of napkin right here. And I think I only need part of it. So what I'm going to do, take this napkin, use a little bit of water to go down like that, and just gently tear it into pieces. This might make working your pieces onto your jar a little bit easier. Now remember, you're not going to run into this problem if you're not doing a curved surface. If you have something that's just straight up and down the sides like this bottle, your napkin's just going to wrap straight around it, and it's going to be so much easier than this to do. So I have this section from here to here that I still have to do. What I'm going to do is take these pieces. Let me see if I can show you what I'm doing. I'm trying to match up this top edge right here with that edge right there. That's all I'm trying to do. And there, just like that. I had a little bit, all I did was put a little bit of this glue on there, and now it's held. So I'm going to go up to my top first. Make sure you've got Mod Podge right to the edge. Then I'm going to go right straight down like this. Then I'm going to put lots more Mod Podge onto my brush. That's the other thing that you have to do. When you're Mod Podging a napkin from the outside like this and it's dry, make sure you got lots of that medium. So I know in some places people don't use Mod Podge, and you may be using PVA glue mixed with water. You may be using a special napkin decoupage medium. There's all different mediums depending on where you're getting it and what's available to you. But the thing is, they're all going to work the same way. This method is going to be almost the same. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to overlap it to this side over here. I'm just going to put it to the bottom. I'm going to put it, oops, let's see if I can stick it onto that piece a little bit so that I can work with this. I can't set this down on the table. There. So let's get this. The pattern doesn't match up perfectly, but it's a rough edge, torn, not cut with the scissors, so it's not that noticeable. Okay, now I gotta pull this over like this because that's how much bulk I've got right there. So using my water brush, let me see. Using my water brush, I'm going to go down this side of this stem and around that flower like that. I'm going to separate this. Oh, don't pull off of there. That's not where I want you to separate. I'm going to have to put this down like this. I'm going to pull that water line away like this. Okay. And then I'm going to set this piece over on top of that piece. Let's get this glued right down. Now I've got glue there, so I don't have to worry about this going through 2 layers. And I'm going to glue this stem all the way down like that. So I've got 2 of those stems right there side by side, but it doesn't matter to me. I could have put another piece in there. That's not a big deal. So I started to say, one of the things that's really important when you're doing this is to keep lots of Mod Podge or your whatever medium you're using on your brush. That is the key. As soon as your brush starts to feel any drag, it's going to stick to that napkin and tear it away. So you don't want any drag on it. So I have, let me see. I have this little bit of a V to fill in here. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to cut this like this. I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut that. And I'm going to bring this down like this. I'm going to tear. I'm just guessing at this. It's nothing, no scientific approach. Okay, I've got this funny little shaped piece that I think I can put right in there like that. It doesn't even go to the bottom because it goes all the way to the bottom there. There. And I chose this pattern because it's a little bit busy. A whole bunch of overlapping wasn't going to make that much difference. It's like trying to find where the seams are in a really busy wallpaper pattern or tile pattern or anything like that. It's harder to see the differences if it's busy. But besides being busy, it was also pretty and delicate, and yeah. So I'm just going to turn this around. I'm going to look at where all these wrinkles, there are wrinkles in it. I'm just going to go and make sure that all of these wrinkles have no air bubbles underneath them. So just so that I don't have to try to cut this off later. I'm just going to go like that and take a chunk of that off of there because I don't need that big chunk. Then I can make sure I've got some Mod Podge all the way to the bottom of my napkin where it's starting to roll this bottom edge. And I got it sealed down all the way around. You can tell this is a cheap napkin because the color from some of the flowers is coming off. My paintbrush is getting just a slight pink tinge to it. So that means some of the pink and red flowers are bleeding just a little bit. And that happens with cheap napkins. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry. Then I'm going to go over the whole thing with one more clear coat of the Mod Podge. Okay, so I have my second coat of Mod Podge now, just a top coat, nice and thick on top of here. And I'm going to give this a couple of hours to dry. I gave that first one about an hour, but while I'm waiting for that to dry, and I still have my glue gun hot, I am going to prep this little pack. So I've taken it out of the package, these little lights, and they look exactly like this. This is the way they are in the package. I've put batteries in here. I am going to take these lights, and keeping all the lights lined up, I'm just going to take a hair tie, and I'm going to put a hair tie around these because I don't want these to come all apart. I want this light to come down from the handle, I think. That when I fold this in half and this is right at the top, all my little lights are kind of sticking down like this. Because I'm going to put some hot glue right inside the lid of this. Then I'm going to squeeze this together and shove this down in there. And I want it to hold. And it's not got any tooth on this plastic. It's bad enough that that doesn't have any. But I really want this to stick. So I'm going to take my hot glue and I'm going to put a really good amount of hot glue right down in. There's a little divot right in that handle at the top of this lid. So I'm going to put that right down in there and kind of make a little bowl of that hot glue. And then I'm going to stick this right up into that, and I'm going to hold this nice and tight so that stays down in there. And I'm just going to give this, I'm going to hold it for a minute. There. Just like that. So I have all these little light bulbs so that when I set this into my jar, it's like a light bulb at the top. So it's going to be as simple as just dropping the battery pack down into there turning it on, putting the lid down, and then the timer should do the rest until I have to change the batteries out. So I have these batteries, but I also have rechargeable batteries that I could put in here. If you've got some rechargeable ones, that's definitely the way to go. So there won't be any wires or anything showing on the outside of this jar. Okay, so I have left this jar overnight. I put a second coat on and I put it on very thick. I wanted this to be able to be washed because it's going to get dirty where I'm going to put it. So you could put a nightlight like this on a side table in a bedroom for a child, depending on what you put down here. You could use something smaller, of course. You can do this just on a jar and put some of these timed lights in there. These timed lights are the key to this project. So you could just use a simple pickle jar and decoupage that all the way up with a napkin that had some child's images on it. Yeah, I know it's Mod Podge and a napkin, but if you pulled this all off in one piece, this would be a leathery-like sheet now. So if you broke this and the napkin was over the whole thing, all the glass would stick to this. This is stuck down. So you would have very little mess. So that would make this safe or safer for a child's room as well. And it would make a great night light just in a place that you don't have an outlet to plug a night light in. So just some options. I am going to put this on the shelf above my sink in my bathroom and use it as a night light in my bathroom. So I'm going to take this. I don't know where this came from because I got it at the thrift store in a massive bag of ribbons, bows, and things like this, these types of trims. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to wrap it just around the rim once, twice. Wow, that goes around really easy. 3 times. I'm going to make sure it's pretty tight. So I'm going to tie this around here, very similar to a ribbon. I'm going to just cut this off of there. So I've got some bits hanging down. And then I'm going to find where my front is going to be. I want the best. I think this is going to be my front. Yeah, of course, I've got that all the way to the wrong side. I'm just going to grab both of these and turn them around to where I want my front to be. Right there. Okay, so my front, and tie this as tight as I can make it. It's hard to tie this stuff. And I'm not even going to glue this because I'm just going to have it on there like that. Okay, so I want this to be a little weighted so that if it gets knocked, it's not going to fall off the shelf. I have some of these. These are the flat glass bead pieces from Dollarama. So I'm just going to use some of these and put them in the bottom for some extra weight. And I'm hoping, let me get them in here. Oh, that makes that nice and heavy. And I can still reuse those for something else if I want to. I'm going to tell you about this. This is the light, and these are in here really good. So I'm going to let you know that I put the hot glue in there. It filled up this little cavity. It's like a little dome inside. It filled that up. There's no ridges in here. There was nothing to hold the hot glue. So when the hot glue dried, of course, the first time I picked this up, this popped right out. So I tried glossy accents and put it on there, and it still just popped out. I didn't have a glue on hand that was specifically for glass. So I ended up going to my nail kit and grabbing some nail glue for my press-on nails. And I put a little bit of nail glue on the dome of the lights when they were out. So I took this piece out, put a little on like I would on a fingernail and shoved it in there because the dome in the inside of this glass fit perfectly tight, and held it for 15 seconds and the glue was dry. So I was really, really happy about that. You can see how translucent and how subtle the napkin is when you put it on clear glass. So if you're doing a decoupage project where you want this to really pop, this has to have a white base underneath it. So I always paint a white chalk paint base underneath. So I'm going to put this in my bathroom and I'm done. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Let YouTube know that you're watching. Comment down below. Let me know what you think of this as a nightlight option. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave if you haven't already done it. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, bye-bye for now, everyone. Have a wonderful day.